Hi everyone. I thought I'd share with you my diet, what foods I eat. At the current moment of making this video, I am mostly a vegetarian, but I eat fish, so technically I am a pescatarian. Now, what this means for me is that I do not eat any meat from animals, but I do consume fish. Now, I don't eat fish very often, but I do not limit it from my diet. Furthermore, I don't think I could go vegan with my diet, or rather don't have much of an interest in it, at least for right now. I probably could cut out all dairy, which I already have with milk, but at the moment I am perfectly content with what I do allow myself to consume and will continue with that. While I personally do not eat meat, I do not think there is anything wrong with eating meat. I'm not going to judge someone that is a meat eater or try to push my lifestyle. But while I don't approve of some of the ways animals are abused when producing the meat, I think people have every right to eat them if they choose to do so. Anyway, I love spicy foods. I can make practically anything spicy by adding some ground cayenne pepper to it. I make it so spicy that I am literally sweating and unable to breathe. So some of my favorite foods are pizza. I absolutely love pizza. I love to make my own. I love tons of toppings on it. I like onions and spinach, and jalapenos, black and green olives, anything that is not meat. I also put tons of spices and seasonings on it. I mean, you would not believe how my pizza looks with all this stuff on it. I love to cook and make things and would love to dedicate more time to this. I try to eat a lot of organic foods. Since I don't necessarily have the time or feel like preparing, I have plenty of these frozen organic meals, including these frozen organic burritos that I really love. There is a bit of a story on how I got to this point that I thought I'd share with you all. I used to be a meat eater. I never ate steak. It was mostly ground beef that I would eat, as well as chicken, turkey, ham. I used to do minimal exercise as well. I would experience this tightness in my chest, especially after eating fatty foods. How it would happen is after I exhaled, I would feel a tightening right in my chest and it would become difficult to breathe. I could either have shortness of breath, or if I tried to breathe deeply, it would feel like pins going into my heart. The only way it went away was when I finally did manage to breathe all the way in, but it was scary and concerning. So this is when I discovered that eating fiber can help with your heart. So I started eating a fiber cereal, and after a short while, those scary chest tightening experiences cut down significantly. But I still felt so gross and nasty with myself, as well as having some chest pain after eating fatty foods. So this is when I began to exercise more and get in better shape. It was in 2011 that I still wasn't really feeling healthy and decided to do a body cleanse. I was planning on 3 days of no solid food, just liquid, to fully detox my body and hopefully help me with how I was feeling. However, I approached it the completely wrong way. The day before I started, I was still eating regularly, and then I just stopped all solid foods. And that is quite hard on the system to do that. Furthermore, while I thought I was getting enough nutrition and calories, I actually wasn't getting enough sodium, which led to dehydration after the second day. So basically, I was doing fine the first day on the liquid diet. I believe most of the second day I was fine as well. But at the end of the second day, or perhaps the third day, was when things started to turn ugly. I started to get this ache in my gallbladder, which is right below your liver. I got more and more intense and turned into a piercing sensation. It was so incredibly painful that I almost passed out. I could not stand up and was constantly kneeling over. Chills, nausea, couldn't really talk, and was completely out of it. Before I realized it was the gallbladder, I thought it was perhaps a kidney stone that I was passing due to the detox. But once I realized it was the gallbladder, it was a much more serious issue. I thought it could possibly be a gallstone that I was passing, again, due to the detox, and also because of how the pain seemed to travel. This all happened very late at night, so my grandmother and I went to the medical aid unit in the morning, and I was examined, and the doctor had to push on the area, and I experienced such an incredible, excruciating pain. He said it was in fact the gallbladder, and I should go to the emergency room. So I went there, and they did an ultrasound of the area. By that point, the severe pain was gone. The results didn't find anything, but also it's possible that it could have passed by then, since it cannot be detected if it moves out of the gallbladder and duct. I was also hooked up to an IV, and after some time started to come back to myself and feel better. It was like the fog was lifted and I felt so much better. I went home, was eating some minor things for the first time in 3 days, but it wasn't over. Within a few hours after returning home, I started to feel the pain in my gallbladder area again, experiencing a lower grade version of the symptoms I felt earlier. It subsided after some time, but would keep happening every day. What was weird was that it would be less intense each time it happened and be more spaced apart. But it happened for several weeks after the initial attack. I even had tests done, including a HEDA scan, to check if everything was working properly, and things seemed to come back with everything okay. And over some time, it fully went away, and I was so relieved because it was very scary for me, and I hope nothing like that ever happens again, because I do not like having things wrong and going into the hospital. So that is the event that changed my eating habits. Since then, due to this health scare, I slowly changed my diet to what it is now. I initially never had any intentions of becoming a vegetarian, or mostly vegetarian, and never thought it would happen. How I did this was began substituting beef with turkey. Turkey is much leaner than beef, and the taste wasn't too far off. After some time, my habits changed, and I began liking so many other foods that were non-meat. It was like my desire to try new things expanded exponentially, and I would try things I never could have before, and I actually liked them. This was mostly in 2012. After about a year of eating turkey and cutting out beef, I decided to switch over to veggie products in 2013, but I would still occasionally eat meat. However, now I do not even eat chicken or turkey, and it doesn't interest me anymore. I have no desire or taste for it. However, I do still eat fish and don't think I could give that up, or really have any desire to give it up for that matter. Besides, I don't even eat it too often anyway. So that is my story of how I became a mostly vegetarian, a pescatarian. Let me know what kinds of foods you all like. Thank you very much for watching.